Hello, everybody. This is Clete, and we're going to have a special episode tonight. We did have the commitment to actually do one of our fan episodes tonight, but because Britton was kind of a jerk and I guess he's having a baby tonight, we all wish him well because, you know, that's always a stressful moment. We're going to have a special guest, and her name is Analise.
Hi.
So, Analise, I heard that you do tattoos. Is that right?
I do, yeah.
Where do you do tattoos at?
I work at My Style Tattoo in Ogden, Utah. My name is penned under Discordia Inc.
Awesome. So, we're trying to do kind of a series like this. So if you ever find yourself in Utah, hit us up to be on this podcast, or maybe check out Analise Tattoo Barbershop.
Hey.
I've seen a couple from her, and I actually requested that maybe she makes me a BoJack Horseman tattoo.
It'll happen.
Like, I'm really excited. We're really into that show. It's really hard to find someone that actually enjoys it. We went out for some food after this, and we were just talking. It's like, we live in a world where everyone likes Rick and Morty, but like, really, I like BoJack Horseman so much more than that show. Like, almost tenfold.
It just hits you harder.
Yeah, it really does. So the crux of these interviews, are really what we want to talk about, is we just want to get out to just regular people in America that had paranormal experiences when they were young, or even like now, currently today. So I had this story I really wanted to tell you because it was just so stupid. So everyone who's listened to this podcast before knows that I've had sleep paralysis a lot. And I've noticed that whenever I fall asleep on my back is when it happens. And sometimes, like, I have sleeping problems, so like sometimes I'll go a day without sleeping. And once I hit that 24-hour mark, I'll go lay on my bed and fall asleep. So about last week, I had that situation. I go and I lay on my back, and I start drifting off. And for those people that have chronic sleep paralysis, they kind of know when they're falling into the zone of doom or something, however you might call it. And I start to notice I can't move my hands. And a little thought came up in my head. It's like, maybe it's the demons holding your hands down. And then I kid you not, like, Analise, do you know the noise the Cookie Monster makes when he eats a cookie?
I do.
Could you...
No.
Like, nom, nom,
Absolutely
nom, nom,
not.
nom, like that, right?
But yeah.
So I felt like someone in the blankets were eating my hands to my shoulders, just going, nom, 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 nom. And I was freaking out because I thought I was getting eaten. And I woke up, and I was like, did I really just have that dream that was so real of like a Cookie Monster demon eating my arms?
I mean, it might not have been a dream.
It was terrifying in the moment, but I woke up, I'm like, did a ghost just troll me? So that's the most recent paranormal experience I've had. Okay, so Analise, can you tell me any type of paranormal or scary experience you've had in your adult life or childhood?
Definitely in childhood. When I was about 8 years old, I was pretty convinced that there was a little ghost girl living in my room, and I thought that she came out of the crawl space attached to my bedroom. So as soon as the house was quiet and everybody would go to sleep, I would start to see some kind of like shadow movement by my door in my room. And if I focused on it for too long, I would see this girl with like long dark hair, white clothes, just kind of a stereotype of a ghost, but I was 8, I didn't know.
Reminds me of The Ring.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and she would just kind of sit and crouch, and she wouldn't make any noise, but she would just look at me, and so I would try and turn away so that I could go to sleep, but I would kind of cry all night and panic and be up pretty late because I couldn't fall asleep when I was scared, but if I turned back and looked at her, she'd be closer. And that was a pretty consistent one for probably a couple of years.
That's so creepy. So I think there's two possible explanations for this. And I'm curious what you think. So you feel like it was a kid's do you feel like it's your kid's imagination going wild? Or do you feel like as a kid, like you were able to see more paranormal stuff?
I am never sure. I'm kind of torn on it because I definitely feel like something I was exposed to gave me the impression that would make me see that imagery. But I also feel like as a child I felt more in tune with energy that was around me and more able to experience things like that. So some combination of the two.
Yeah, I always had the natural fear of like something being in my closet, you know?
You know, I've never been afraid of something being in my closet, but I even as an adult, I will not get a bed that has an underneath. Like my bed is on the floor.
That's so funny. Yeah, so when I was a kid, what I used to do when I used to have like a little frame, I would like run and jump into the bed.
Yeah.
Or when I wake up, I get up and jump away from it because I'd be afraid like something would pull me under.
Oh, absolutely. When I was a kid, my room was in the basement, and we had no bathrooms downstairs. I was the only one in the basement. Really big old house, and it was always pitch black. The light switch was at the top of the stairs.
What?
So if I had to pee, I would sing to myself. So I would get out of my bed and I would jump. And then I would land in the middle of my floor. I would go and turn the light on for my own bedroom, leave the door as wide open as I could, but then I would have to venture through the dark. And so I would just like quiver and cry and sing to myself as I went through the dark and up the stairs. The only thing that was a sound down there was this big furnace that would just hiss. So it was terrifying every time.
That reminds me of like, yeah, when I was a kid, I'd try to like distract myself from being scared of something. So it's like, oh, I'll just sing. That's so funny. That's such a gal thing to do. Or guy. You know, we don't make those gender things here. Fuck. Is there any other situations where you've seen something strange that you couldn't explain?
Well, definitely as an adult, and it's a little bit frustrating because as I've grown up, something in my brain has been like, you imagined all of that. There's no way any of that happened, but I still experience weird things as an adult, just not as intense. I like to go urban exploring. It's not crime, I swear. And I recently was not breaking and entering and went into an old mental hospital in the city that I live in. And I didn't see anything directly, but I know that I was alone in this building. There weren't really any animal noises. There weren't any, like, signs of animals living there.
So you went there by yourself?
I went there with a group of friends.
Okay.
But we got in through a bottom window and had to start in the basement, which is already creepy because other people have definitely been there before. The graffiti is terrifying. I actually took photos that I can send to you. Like, there's a cellar in the basement that somebody put the word dungeon over. There's an old cremation chamber down there that we went inside of, and on the wall inside of the cremation chamber it said, "Why is it so hot in here?" And it was about 20 degrees hotter in there, which was already super weird and put us on edge because it was one of the first rooms that we went into.
Yeah, so send me the pictures tomorrow if you can, that I can put it on our YouTube as like background pictures.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some of them are really cool. I mean, some of them are silly. There's one on the outside of the building that says, "Get out my DMs." And on the inside there's an entire wall that somebody wrote just crazy stuff like, "This is hell, I'm going mad, somebody help me," in red paint. Like, there's a room that's labeled the Devil's Den.
Nice. I gotta check this place out.
It was really cool. I'll take you.
I'd be down.
But we didn't have any direct experiences in it, but like the bathroom in that building was probably the creepiest one. As soon as we went in the bathroom, it was like the whole building got dead silent, and then we just heard from the rooftop like rhythmic banging. So not like an animal, but like a tap, tap, tap through the whole building. And it was, well, probably not very well put together for a mental ward because the second floor, the balcony looking over didn't have any bars preventing people from jumping. So you could see the entire bottom floor when you're on that second floor. And we saw a lot of motion that didn't make any sense. So a lot of the doors are kind of knocked out and they're just empty doorways. But with our flashlights, all we could see was, you know, the shapes and the silhouettes and a little bit into the rooms. And we definitely saw what looked like some figures moving around in those.
Oh, that's creepy. Oh, I love that stuff. When I was a kid, before the Salt Lake City Hospital, when it was abandoned over in the avenues, we did that. When I was like 17, but I remember we brought in a little Ouija board. We were like playing around with it. And then one of my friends was like, "That's a shadow." And they got up and ran like through my planchette. So I had to go look for it. I was like, bitches.
Ah, that's so crappy.
Yeah, I don't know. That stuff does not scare me. It intrigues me, but it does not scare me. We wanted to take a Ouija
board with us, but I don't have one anymore. I've moved around so many times that my stuff has just been lost.
Yeah, everyone like gets weird about that. They're like, Ouija board. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Let's get a spirit box, some whiskey. We'll be good.
You want to bring your Ouija board to this hospital?
Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I don't have one anymore. I have to get on Amazon.
Sir?
I think, I'm pretty sure someone stole my spirit box and Ouija board at the same time. Like, who does that? Talking to the dead while being guilty.
Must have been a ghost.
Yeah, right. This guy won't shut up. He keeps talking to me at 2 a.m. He just said, "Get out of my DMs."
Is that the equivalent of
and
being
it disappeared.
Blocked?
Yeah. The admins locked me out. All right, so Analise actually gave me a picture of this creepy manifesto of crazy. So I'm going to read it out to you guys. And send me a picture of this. I'll put this on YouTube. "This is madness. Anything to help me get out. It's hard to read. No road to die, no hope for me. Death is near, time for me to go. No hope, forgotten. Nope, lies. Help me get out. I want to live, time is running. Hopeless trap, no more way out." Like, Jesus. So while we were talking, getting ready, we grabbed lunch before we started doing this podcast. You told me that you found just a dead body So
I did, yeah.
that's kind of a big thing.
So it was, let's see, what year is it? Is it 2021? So I think it was 3 years ago in October, so almost 3 years. And I was road tripping from Utah to Florida. So I think it was I-7, it might have been I-6. We were going through southeast Utah, and between like two little tiny cities called Bluff and Blanding, on the right side of the interstate, there was just a naked woman face down on the side of the road. She didn't have like tattoos or anything like that. She had short, thick, like dark hair. And she wasn't moving. She was kind of bluish, like very clearly dead.
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
And the person who I was with, my friend that was driving at the time, he didn't want to stop. He panicked.
What time
so
was
hard.
it?
It was like 3 p.m, I think. It could have been in the morning, but I know it was still daylight hours. And before the body, there was a guy pulled over, probably like, 100 feet away from the body. And he had his door propped open, but he was standing on the inside of his door, leaning over and looking at the body, and he was on the phone. And I assumed that he would be calling the cops, but we'll get back to that later.
What?
And then there was the body, and we drove by it, and I looked out the window, and I said, "Hey, I think that's a body." And my friend said, "Yeah, that's a body." And then he panicked.
Like
he
the
refused
realization.
to stop. Yeah. At the time, I didn't have a phone, but my son was in the back seat. He wasn't quite one yet. And so, yeah, it might have been 2 years ago. Sorry, I'm real bad at time. But he didn't want to pull over, and I didn't have a phone, so I asked if I could use his phone, and he said, "No, I don't want to be attached to this," which is also just
Does
ridiculous.
he have a record?
I don't know. But I finally talked him into stopping at a gas station, like a couple miles down the road, because I told him that my son needed his diaper changed. And I walked into this gas station, and I looked at the girl behind the desk, and I said, "Hey, I need to use your phone. There's a body outside." And she said, let me get my manager. And she walked away. And so I'm waiting for the manager to come back, and he's got the phone in his hand, but he looks at me like I'm pranking him, and he was like, "You need to use the phone?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's a body. Can I call the police, please?"
Oh my God.
And so they let me use their phone, but he stood by me and just kind of like side-eyed me the whole time.
Right.
And I don't know if you've ever called the police for anything, but usually when you call them, they say stuff like, "What's your callback number? What's the address of the emergency? Just in case we get disconnected, da-da-da-da," all this other stuff. They did not. Whatever police were in this small town just did not give a shit. So I called and I said, "Hey, I just needed to report there's a body on the side of this interstate by this mile marker." And they said, "Okay, which way were you going?" And I told them, and they were like, "All right, we'll send someone out. Thanks." And I was like, "Do you need any info?" And they were like, "No, we're good. Thanks." And
what?
So I sat there for like 20
Nonchalant.
minutes. Yeah. And I sat at this gas station for like 20 minutes, and the police called back.
Right.
And they asked me for a description of the guy that was standing by it because nobody else had called in and reported it.
No way.
Until somebody called after me and reported the guy was still there before the cops got there. And so they asked for a description of him and his car, but that guy never called in, so maybe he left her there. I don't know. And I watched news articles and stuff around that town for a while, and I never saw anything go on. I'm not really sure what happened. I'm thinking maybe somebody accidentally overdosed and somebody dumped him and panicked. But because if you're in the desert and you want somebody to not find a body, you could put it like a mile off the road, and the desert would eat it. So like putting somebody directly on the side of a highway, probably not the best way to get away with murder. So I assume not murder.
I'm glad you planned this out.
Yeah, you do what you gotta.
Yeah. It says no services on this exit. Right here. Go here.
You wanna go on a road trip?
No. I'm good.
I'm hurt.
It's like, why do you have shovels and duct tape, Analise?
I didn't show you what was in my trunk when we were at the gas station, did I?
Oh, God, help me. Dude, that's disturbing. That makes me sad. I wonder, like...
Yeah, it was super sad, and I'm really confused that it never made it into the news. Like, they were really small towns. Really, really small. Like, maybe one gas station per town. But I still figure that, like, they report they're dead. I don't know.
Yeah, or, like, somebody would miss them, be like, so-and-so was found here. You see that all the time. I read a news article of some gal in Utah. I guess he got pulled over, and I was reading the news article, and they were carrying some substances from some place to another, and it was
Allegedly.
a lot. I mean, yes, it was in the car. And I guess they pulled the girl out, and they were, like, talking to the guy on the driver's side. This happened, like, last week, and she ran to the police cruiser and just took off. So, cops should be in trouble for that. But, like, crazy stuff happens in small towns. It was in the middle of nowhere, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to get into the second part of this story. This part will be inspired by missing people in America. And I will tell you one thing before we start. I forgot to say what we're drinking tonight. So, Annalise, what are we drinking?
Espolón tequila.
Some tequila and some... What is the other thing?
Smirnoff Ice Smash, strawberry and lemon.
So I'm not going to lie, this is a little bit more than the single beer I drink during a podcast. So, if I slur, it's probably because I'm really sober.
What do you mean? You told me that it's bitch beer. It's just 8%.
Yeah, I ain't no lady. It'll take the hair right off your chest. All right, so interesting fact. In 1997, there was 980,000 missing person cases. This aggregated to 0.2% of the population at the time. So, Annalise, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's significant, insignificant?
I said I feel like it's pretty significant.
Yeah. So we always hear about these stories about, like, the widespread panic, devil-worshipping cults in the woods. But it's like, bro, like, if 0.2% of the population disappeared in 1 year, like, would you not be concerned? That's 1 million people. I mean, I'm not good at math, but is that like 3,000 people a day or something?
Probably.
That's insane. Just to put this into more context, in 2020, it's estimated that 345,000 people died from the bad flu epidemic, which can't be named on YouTube or will get banned. So as a percentage of the population there, right now, that's 0.001%. So just to put that in context, all that media attention that's put on this epidemic flu, like, you just imagine, like, where's the uproar about missing people in 1997? Why don't we hear about that more?
Well, if we're being honest, there probably just are certain people that don't care.
People in power don't care.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary if you really think about it. Now, if you look at missing person cases, you can see that it peaked in 1997, but then it trends down slowly afterwards, which begs the question. It's like, well, it's kind of harder to, like, disappear now, right? Like, if I were to go move to Tennessee, I kept my Facebook account, I'm not going to be a missing person. Maybe if I did that right now in 1997, my parents wouldn't see me again. Maybe I'd write them a nice letter via USPS. I don't know.
And then they'd get it 10 years later.
Dear family. I went with the cheap shipping, which was 10 years from now. This episode does not look to answer why there are such widespread disappearances, but to describe a phenomena that people believe lead to disappearances in highly forested areas in the United States. Transition, Analise.
Yeah. That's not a good warning, but I'll take it.
So, what I kind of fell upon, and I want to kind of actually talk to this about you, because I remember I asked you one day.
You're definitely drunk, because you said you want to talk to this about me.
Okay. So, Annalise, this one hits close to home, because I remember when we knew each other. We've gone pretty far back, But I asked her a question once, and I was like, when you were a kid, do you ever remember hearing, like, a voice of your parents calling your name, beckoning you to an abandoned area, whether it be somewhere in the house or outside?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
And this is kind of based off that.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we're describing here is actually something called crawlers, which is a cryptid generally associated in urban environments. Wait, is urban city?
Urban is city.
Okay. In non-urban environments where people hear voices of their relatives where they really shouldn't, where it's out of place. So could you just start with what crawlers are?
Yes. So crawlers are described as humanoid creatures found in the United States and Canada, typically in forests. Crawlers are said to be tall, lanky, and gray humanoid creatures with no hair, extremely sharp claws and sharp teeth, and sunken-in eyes. They are said to crawl extremely fast on all four limbs, and witnesses have reported that no matter how close they get to these creatures, they always seemed out of focus. Crawlers are said to be very aggressive, attacking animals and humans that come close. Crawlers also strike a shocking resemblance to the creepypasta creature the Rake, which is where the story may have gotten its inspiration from.
Wow, that reminds me of your ex-boyfriend.
You're not wrong. Which one?
I don't know. I just thought it was a funny bit.
We can tag them all.
All right. Now we have a story from JK from Reddit.
All right. I am writing this in reference to an experience I have faced in the woods of upstate New York, where an impulsive sound that mimicked the voice of my father called me through the woods. Yes, my father. A voice in the same likeness, the same exactness to my father. At the time, it was only me and another friend present. My father was miles away in Long Island at the time. We were in deep, entrenched woods.
That's just a snippet I found on Reddit, and they started a discussion, which I kind of followed, and all these stories come from it. Now, that just gives me the chills. Like, it's weird to me to think, like, as a kid, I would hear my parents' voices, and then you hear this, like, but in, like, a desolate area in the woods.
Yeah, no, if I heard my mom in the woods, whether it was her or a crawler, I would probably be very terrified.
Just the idea that something unknown is trying to sequester you into the wilderness. Like, I don't feel like they have good intentions.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not.
I feel like you're not going to be seen again. Either you're gonna go into an alternate universe where everything's great, or you're going to get murdered.
Very fair. I mean, when you bring up Reddit, also, there was a forest ranger who used to post on there for a while. Did you hear about the stairs?
Oh, yeah. So that's actually from the No Sleep,
Wink.
which is known to not be real. But I actually, on my old YouTube channel, actually did one episode off of that.
Excellent.
Yeah, that is it's called Search and Rescue on Reddit. It's so good.
Phenomenal.
Oof. All right. So we have another story from what is it?
Tim M7474. So my stepson lives in New Mexico and hears something like this all the time near his home. He lives out in the rural outskirts of a town he lives in. Every now and then he and his wife will hear someone calling them out in the night, usually using a family member's voice. My stepson often ignores it, knowing full well his wife or whoever's voice is being used at the time is either inside of the house or not in town. His in-laws came to visit once and parked their fifth wheel out on the property next to the house. At about 3 a.m., someone was using my stepson's wife's voice, calling out the parents of the fifth wheel, asking for help. Sorry, let me start that sentence over. That typo's fucked up. It's like a one run-on sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
Welcome to Reddit.
Oh, man. This person needs to punctuate. All right. His in-laws came to visit once and parked their fifth wheel out on the property next to the house. At about 3 a.m., someone was using my stepson's wife's voice, calling the parents out of their fifth wheel, asking for help. But they had been warned about the situation that has been occurring. They called my daughter-in-law to check and see if it was her calling out her parents, and it wasn't. My stepson searched the surrounding area day and night and has found no tracks of any kind. My stepson thinks it's a neighbor or someone living in the desert somewhere, but it's just a guess. All he can do is keep vigilant and stay armed until it stops.
Creepy.
Super creepy.
But how can he mimic voices?
I would be so impressed if a homeless dude could mimic my family members' voices. I feel like that is probably unlikely.
It's like it really gives him a competitive advantage to get more change.
For real. Everyone needs a little change.
Everyone needs a little good change in their life, especially if you're homeless. Okay. So I'm going to jump into my story. If you want to jump in, just go like this. I'll let you jump in. The
Absolutely
more you
fucking
talk,
not.
the
I'm just
better.
going to talk over you.
Oh, yeah. Shut the fuck up, Clete, you son of a bitch.
No, it's Pete Clearson.
Pete Clearson here. Walter, here you go. Here's another story, and it comes from someone saying they specifically saw a crawler while they were hunting. And the story is titled this: The Man I Saw Through the Night's Vision Scope. I'm a hunter. I like to hunt wild boar specifically. Though I have been deer hunting and been known to get turkey for Thanksgiving, I mostly hunt boar. For those of you who don't know, boar are a big problem in the United States. A sow can have 2 litters? I don't know what that means. It says, I don't know what this means. A sow can have 2 litters a year, and it's not uncommon for a litter to consist of 10 or more pigs.
A female boar.
Yeah, apparently. See, this has language I don't understand. Given that pigs eat anything and everything, it's not hard to see why the Department of Fish and Wildlife make it illegal to hunt them with almost no restrictions. They just want to kill all the boars. I hear that in Texas.
So do they make it legal or illegal?
So they make it legal. Like you can just... So in Texas, you can actually get a helicopter and shoot like machine guns at boars.
Well, I mean, in Texas, you can also own a tiger without any special licensing. So Texas maybe just needs to work on themselves a little bit.
Okay, hang on. Real quick. I think that's cool. And
so
the
cool,
environment for tigers in Texas like is actually really good. They could actually live in the wild potentially. And tigers are almost extinct. Let them live there. You know? I just love the idea that you can pay to shoot at boars from a helicopter. Like that is... God damn. That is fucking patriotic. All right.
Then start over.
Nah, I think it's fun.
Oh, when I lived in Hawaii, we caught a boar and ate it.
Was it good?
It was great.
I love the idea of it like being fresh, you know, like I dream of being self-sufficient, even on a farm where you kill a cow or a chicken and then you eat it. Yeah, don't look sad.
Yeah, it's worse when you do it in the opposite order, so it's probably a good call.
You eat, then kill it? Oh, God. I remember you were in that satanic cult back in the day.
What do you mean back in the day?
Praise Azuzu.
Hit me up for a business card, yeah?
Oh, God.
Hey, hashtag audactor.
Hail Baton. All right. Okay. In my state, it's illegal to hunt most large animals with night or thermal vision scopes, with the exception of the boar and coyote. I've been saving for a year, mostly fun money. It's hard to explain to your wife that a scope that costs literally twice as much as a rifle I was mounting it on was worth it. You're like, hey, honey, I need to spend $2,000 on a scope. Sorry.
Listen, I've dated gamers. That doesn't astound me at all.
Yeah?
What
do they spend their money on?
Parts. So many parts.
So many parts.
Just gotta build that computer, you know?
Mm-hmm. But I did it. I took it to the range and sighted it in. There was an area that was peppered with boar activity that I knew would be perfect for a night hunt.
Okay, wait, pause. Peppered with what?
Peppered with boars.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, like the landscape is mixed with a beautiful mix, a recipe of boars, trees, and dirt. I was going to go there and I was going to shoot those goddamn boars.
You gotta get the anger out somehow.
America.
You're gonna get banned.
Yeah, probably. It was easily accessible with my truck and easy to find spots that I could set up in and overlook a large, easy to navigate clearing. The night started uneventful, mostly me tinkering with my new toy, cycling through the settings. I was a little impatient. I'd spotted multiple deer, but they were out of the season. And like I mentioned earlier, my current setup wasn't legal for deer. I imagine if you get pulled over by like a game warden, and they're like, "Hey, you got a thermal scope?" But I thought it was a deer. I thought it was a boar. I didn't mean to shoot a deer. That's how they talk over there. I reckon I didn't know that. It looked like a boar in my scope. I didn't know. Yeah, I like to shit on America on this podcast.
It's a fun accent to do, for sure.
Yeah, it really is. I lost my spot. Hang on.
That's all right. When I was younger, I used to hunt all the boar.
You were really into boar hunting.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing I thought of when I thought of you.
That's what you call dating, right?
Oh, yeah. You're hunting wild boar.
Boar
We are
hunting,
boars.
because, I have a type.
She likes them biggish.
I like them boar. It's good.
I moved to another spot. I'd seen days earlier that probably wasn't much better than my first, but it gave me something to do and a new angle to look around with my new scope. After an hour or so of glassing the area, it dawned on me. This spot doesn't have much animal activity at all. No rabbits, no owls. The deer that I'd seen were hundreds of yards from where I was. Why was this pocket of land so dead at night, but lively in the day? I'd set up around 10 p.m. It was around 2 a.m. when I started to think about packing up, maybe setting up a target before I left. I heard a crunch come from the direction I came from before. I panned my scope over and saw a silhouette of a small bear. It was important to note that my scope isn't exactly night vision. It's a thermal scope, kind of like a black and white version of what you see in the Predator movies. Yeah. I adjusted my range and zoomed in a little. I remember jolting a little when I saw that it wasn't really a bear. It was a man.
A bear?
A bear man. Pig. Man, bear, pig. Because he was so low and hunched over, I thought I was looking at a young bear. Is that a game warden? Couldn't be. I would have seen the headlights coming up from the road where I was perched. And where could he have walked from? I was 30 miles away from anything on the public lands. I was about to call out when I noticed he was naked. No shoes, pants, or anything. I remember being disturbed by his movements, like a squirrel or something. Twitchy and grabbing at the foliage, sniffing around and palming the tree.
That just sounds like downtown Ogden.
Yeah, people are really twitchy there. Like, they have a lot of energy. I don't know what's going on. Seem unhappy. Was that my tree, the one I had leaning against earlier? The thought terrified me. Could he smell me? Then he did something I still have nightmares about today. He squatted and placed his hands on the dirt between his feet and stared straight up like a dog mid-howl. And I heard it. A voice coming from that direction. A female voice. Help! I'm lost!
Yeah?
Yeah. Would you run to save that person, Analise?
I would run away.
I'm coming to help!
I'm on my way.
That was my feminine voice, by the way. There was a long pause, but neither of us moved a muscle. The center of my sights was trained at the dirt in front of his feet. I couldn't bring myself to aim directly at another person. Were they lost? Was this guy that had gone crazy out here? Why was his voice so feminine? Help, please, I can't walk, the voice called out. That's when I called bullshit. Not only could he walk, when I first saw him, he was traversing the land with ease for a naked person. So good I mistook him for a bear. That's a fucking trap. This guy is trying to lure me in with him with a damsel in distress routine. Many women have tried that on me, Analise.
Have they?
No. No, they haven't.
I thought your type was more terrifying than damsel in distress.
What does that mean? I need to know. Luckily, the lack of activity before had caused me to pack up most of my gear. I think I may have left behind a hat and a sitting pad, but I hadn't give a shit in that moment. I took my eyes off him for a moment to get my pack on. I buckled my chest strap and scrambled for my rifle. To my horror, he was in the same position, but his face was staring in my direction, and I swear I saw a smile. How the hell?
I hate that.
Yeah, right?
I hate that so much.
Do you ever feel that in a bar somewhere, kind of chilling, taking a drink, and you look 400 meters away, and there's some creepy dude smiling?
On all fours, looking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. We go to different bars.
Jesus. How the hell had he heard me get up here and put my gear on? He must have easily been 150 yards away. Fuck off, I screamed in that direction.
Effective.
Yeah. Fuck off! He stood upright, and it hit me how tall and skinny he was. Easily 6 feet and very lean. He took a couple of long strides in my direction, and I instinctively sent a round sailing above his head into the tree line. He was freaky as hell, but he hadn't really threatened me. What would I tell the cops? I don't know. Some crazy guy saying, "Come get me." Try to catch me. I don't know. He seemed pretty weird. He stopped dead in his tracks and hunched down on all fours. "The next one will fuck you up. Go away." He stayed on all fours this time, and I had my sights square on center of him. His eyes were just above the grass like a carpet cat. Oh, God damn it. What the hell? All right. His eyes were just above the grass like a large cat or something. I was trying to stop my trembling and knew that my voice had cracked a little on the last warning. I was terrified that standoff probably only lasted a minute or two, maybe less, but it felt like forever. In an instant, he bolted left towards the tree line opposite the road. So much for not being able to walk. I couldn't keep him in my scope. He was moving so fast. He disappeared into the bush, and I sent another round sailing high in his direction. I racked another round and tried to pocket that mag, and I swat for a fresh one. But I dropped it and didn't bother looking for it. I wasn't far from my truck, and I wanted to get the hell out of there. Almost done. Hang on. Having trouble breathing.
Take a minute. Take a shot.
You want to take a shot?
Take a shot, Clete.
I'm not drunk, girl.
Not yet. Cletus.
It's not an okay name. That was my southern name.
Okay, Captain Canada.
Canada.
There's nothing southern about that.
I could hear him in the distance, yelling in a weird sound that could have been a laugh or a cry. Exactly like that. I scrambled up the trail and arrived at the truck breathless. I tossed my gear in the cab, but kept the rifle in the passenger seat. But this is alcohol.
This tequila's wrecking you.
I tossed my gear in the cab, but kept the rifle in the passenger seat and sped off. For the longest time, I told that story from the perspective of having spotted some deranged crackhead. I reported it to Fish and Game, but all they did was scold me for hunting at night alone. I never received an update. Yeah, I saw a naked man running on all his fours, screaming like crazy, and they blamed me like I was asking for it. It wasn't until I told this story at a camping trip that my nephew told me of Wendigos, rakes, and the skinwalkers. My story scared the piss out of him because the spot we were camping was technically the same forest I'd seen the bastard just 50 miles east of it. He was so spooked his mom, my cousin, had to take him home. She was really pissed. I've gone down the rabbit hole one of these scary stories.
I'm not saying what I saw.
I'm not saying what I saw was no damn skinwalker, but I think it was something that was special. I've gone down the rabbit hole one of these scary stories. I'm not saying that I definitely saw a Wendigo or a skinwalker. I'm saying that if such things exist, I may have dodged quite a bullet that night. Or maybe, just maybe, it was just a tweaker being Donnie Thornberry in the middle of the night. Either way, thought I'd share. You know who Donnie Thornberry is, right? Mm-hmm. The guy on the wild thornberries.
Oh, yeah.
Nigel here, just going around looking at the animals, and right here we have a hunter in the trees. All right. Anyways, guys, I really apologize for the editing. I really like this. I love the idea of interviewing just, random Americans talking about their paranormal experiences. If you liked Analise, check out her tattoo shop. And if you want her on another episode, please put it in the comments and I'll harass her. But as always, thank you for entering the abyss. Last thing, subscribe, like, and share on YouTube. Bye.